Welcome to the Lab 3 walkthrough. In this lab, students will edit vocals in two different ways, including the superstar vocal technique and the clip gain technique. So as far as what we'll be doing, the nuts and bolts of it are we're going to make an SSvox template. We're going to save and import session data. We're going to do something called ride them levels. We're also going to apply clip gain and then create a basic mix and master. So as far as shortcut keys, they're all pretty straightforward, no real new ones. The real important one today will be Option Shift I to import session data. And then we'll do all the usual stuff, creating new sessions, saving as, and bouncing the mix when we're done. So the first thing we're going to do is create a Pro Tools SSvox session or template. And we'll do this by creating a series of new tracks in a session. So I'll just navigate over to Pro Tools here. You can see I already have a session open, but if I wanted to create a new session, I would just hit Command N to create a new session here, or just Command N. You can title it whatever you want. The real key here is to make sure that we have it WAV, 24-bit, 44.1, and stereo mix. I'll just save this to the desktop like I already have. So once you do that, the next thing we're going to do is actually create some new tracks here. So we'll do Command Shift N. It says to have two mono audio inputs. If I hit Command Shift N again, it will reopen this new tracks, or it'll create a new option in the new tracks window. So let's see, I need one mono aux input, I need one stereo aux input, and then I need one stereo master fader. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll do Command Shift N again to create one mono aux input. And then I'll do Command Shift N to create one stereo aux input. By the way, the stereo one, I'm just going to go ahead right now and rename it verb because that's just going to be for a verb. It says to also create a master fader. I have a master fader already in the session, so I'm not going to try to duplicate them. The steps also say to make a click track, but we'll have to do that in a separate step. So let's go ahead and I'm going to rename this aux1. You could choose a different name for it, but this is what we're going to be referring to, this mono aux, as aux1 moving forward. So great, let's do that. Let's create. So you can see here we have some tracks here in the session. We're going to need to name them real quickly here. But let me go ahead and do that. Let's see, we want to name the first track here called Clean Vox. And I'll hit OK. By the way, I'm going to option click on the nameplates here so that I can start moving them around. If I try to move them, click and move, it won't let me do it. So if I option click, then it'll let me move these tracks around. So great, I'm going to move this track over here. I don't know why I have 17 audio tracks here. I think I only needed one more. So let me just hit delete on this second one. I'll leave my verb track there. I'll keep audio 2 here. Audio 2 is going to be renamed to SSvox, and that'll be our SSvox track. I'll hit OK. The aux track, we'll just leave it called aux1, and our verb track, we'll leave it named verb. So we're going to have to add some stuff to this as the session suggests, or as the lab suggests. Let's make our click track real quick. I wish there was a shortcut key, folks, but there is not. So we just have to go old school up to track and all the way down to the bottom to create click. I'll put the click in here and just mute it. It's just good, especially if you're going to use this template, this SSvox template later for doing a session, just to have a click track all ready to go. If you imported this into a current like vocal recording session you were doing, that could be super handy. So I'd like to have it as part of the template. The next step then asks us to go and rename things like we already did. We're also going to set up some of the buses, add some reverb, send some reverb, and also put some plugins on that aux1 track. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So first of all, I'll start with the inputs. So we want to put I'll leave mine on input 2, but we'll probably want to set it to input 1. I'm not going to do that right now because I'm using input 1 to record this walkthrough video. So whatever your microphone input is, you'd set it to there. Instead of having it go out 1 and 2 so you can hear it, I would send it to bus 1. So now that's going to bus 1. This aux track right next to it here, I'm going to make the input of that bus 1. And then I'm going to make the output of that mono aux track bus 2. And then our third or second audio track here, I'm going to make input bus 2. And then I'll leave that out 1 and 2. So basically what that's set up here now is if we record into the clean vocal track, we could record the clean vocal on there. It'll then go through this aux track, and then it will also go to the SSvox track. So in other words, what I want to do is in between the clean Vox track and the SSvox track, I want to put a bunch of processing on the aux track. So as Stavros suggests in some of the lectures, what we'll do is we'll do a basic EQ. So I'm just going to add the 7-band EQ. Feel free to use whatever EQs and compressors you'd like. Also, I'll add a compressor. And once again, feel free to use whatever you want. I'm just going to use the basic Pro Tools ones so that you can see you can do it with either. So I'm just going to drag the top EQ down below. For this first EQ, I'm just going to cut everything below 70 hertz. You can figure out how you like to work and what kind of filters you like to have on vocals. But usually there's not much going on below 70 on most vocals. So just cutting it out is just going to get rid of some noise. So that's not a bad thing. As far as the compression goes, I'll probably just use this vocal compressor preset. One thing to note is the compression ratio is not very high, which is probably good for the first compressor that I'm going to be using or printing onto the SSvox track. I don't want too extreme of a compression. As far as my attack and release, kind of for vocals, having them sort of middle of the road is usually a good starting spot. So we'll do that. As far as boosting it, you really want to just take it case by case. But there's the old classic 5200 or 5400 or 4.2K or 4.4K. Doing a slight boost there will bring out some of the sort of, I don't know, kind of like high end or brilliance. Sometimes just a lot of mouth noise, so you have to kind of play it by ear. Also just boost it around 3K or around 2K, and I'll make the Q extremely high here, make a very narrow bandwidth, just to kind of bring out some of the K and the S around 2K. So these are basic settings. Obviously, if you're doing an actual session or before you're going to do it in this lab, you probably want to set these to something else, but these are pretty good starting points. So now that I've done that, basically the idea here is behind this template is that I'm basically just going to be able to go ahead and not only record a clean vocal, but I could also then record simultaneously one that has the EQ compression and additive EQ printed on it. In this, I also have a verb track or verb aux, so I'll go ahead and just put deverb on it. As you can see, there's many other options for reverb that I prefer to use, but I'll use just the Pro Tools basic deverb. Probably a decay time of 4.5 seconds is ridiculous, so let's at least put it at 2 seconds. And that'll be a little bit better. By the way, I didn't set up this verb, so I think in the lab it says to use 3 and 4, so we'll use bus 3 and 4. I'm going to right-click on it just to rename it. I'm just going to rename bus 3 and 4 verb. That way then, if I want to send this clean vocal track there, I can just go bus verb and raise that level. So if I was recording in here, we'd all of a sudden hear some verb on on these vocals. All right. So that's pretty much the template. I think I followed all the directions here. It doesn't ask us to really do anything else. You can just see it goes over, the subtractive and additive EQ that I did. Then we're just going to save the template. So I'll just do that real quick here. I'm just going to go ahead and save the template. So I can just do that by going up to File and Save as Template. That opens the Save Session Template window here. I'm just going to go ahead and do the select location for template, and then I can just save it as, SSvox template, and save it wherever I want. I already have a few on the desktop here, so I'll probably just save it there. So cool. Once I do that, then you can basically just go and close this entire session if you want. I'm going to actually just delete this because I already have a template I like quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these tracks. And then you can do a couple things. You could import your demo session into this session, or what I would do is either open the demo session or open the Lab 3 session that comes with this lab. I'm going to be doing the rest of the demo with the Lab 3 session demo. But if you want to do it from your demo recording session, that's fine too. So the next thing we're going to do is let's go ahead. First thing I'll do is I'll do Option Shift I, and I'm actually going to import let's see, I'll go back to the desktop here. I'm going to import, I've already done some stuff in the this Lab 3. So let me go ahead here and I'll import some session data from, let's see, I'll do the year, month, date, Lab 3 PTX. So I'll go ahead and open that. I'm going to bring, let's see, I'll try to bring everything in, the original Vox, clean Vox. Yeah, and I'll bring all the other parts in. So I'm going to import this into this current session. So I'll hit OK, and we'll just hit OK. And there we go. Okay, so in this session, let me just like clean it up here for a second. There's already some things happening. So you can see right now off the bat, I have, let's see, I have something called Clean Vox. Let's see. Oh, I should probably undo that. I'm getting confused now. So if you open that Lab 3 session, it should be pretty straightforward. Let's see, it should have an empty Clean Vox track. It looks like it should have SSvox and original. So let me just go to it. So your session should actually look like, if you open that Lab Session 3, let's see, I'm just going to delete these tracks for right now. It should just look like this. You should see something called Original Vox. You should see like an E bass, a synth bass. If we play that back, let's see, we're not hearing anything. I don't know why it's panned all the way to the left. You're not hearing anything right now. So let me just actually go ahead here real quick and hold Option Shift and click on the sound bridge as well. So now we should have, it should be coming out the main mix as well as out the sound bridge. So you should be hearing it. Let's play it here a little bit. Let me just make sure you're seeing it. Great, yeah. And I can talk over it. Okay. Sorry, just some inner workings of how the walkthrough is happening. Great. So I'll leave this master fader down here on the bottom. Okay, so if you open let's see, what is it? What's the official name of it? If you download and open lab3 voxsession.zip, that will be all right. So at this point, you can do two things. You can, now that you've saved your template, you can either use your course project demo draft. You have to do a final draft. Or final version of the demo. So you could work with that session if you want, or you could use this lab3 voxsession.zip. So you decide what you want to do. I've already gone ahead and opened that session. And so you can do that. Let's see, it says also to this session. So if you open that session, it'll basically look like this. You should just see something called Original Vox. And then there's a few other tracks. There's like an E-bass, synth bass, guitar, blah, 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 pad 2, synth lead. And then I don't think there's a master fader in the session, but mine obviously has one because I'm using Pro Tools to do this walkthrough video. A step before that is if you're going to use that session, then let's go ahead and import some session data or from the template that you just made. So go ahead and find your Vox template. And if you do that, I'm going to do Option-Shift-I, and I'm going to look for that SSvox template. By the way, it says once you open this session, the Lab 3, it says to do a quick file, save as, and rename it. I've already sort of done that, but if you see here in my session now, the session has been renamed year, month, date, Doug B Lab 3. Not only, so there's the original Lab 3 Vox that I would have downloaded and opened. Then I did a save as year, month, date, Doug B Lab 3. And notice also in this entire folder, I renamed the entire folder, and I dragged the SSvox template that I made in the previous step into this folder. So everything's in one place. If you don't do this, you need to turn in this folder that has all this stuff in it. So if you're not going to do it now, make sure at the end you get everything into this folder. I'll just go ahead and save it again. Let's see, it already exists. You want to replace it? Yeah, let's hope that wasn't created a horrible disaster. But now that we have our session labeled and saved, let's go to Option-Shift-I now to import the session data. And I'm just going to import this SSvox template. It says it'll need to adjust the time there. Don't worry about that. So I'm going to go and import everything besides the master because I already have a master fader in this session and I don't want to mess that up. So I'll go ahead and import everything else. And so now I've got a bunch of tracks in here. I think what I'd like to do to make the session kind of smooth, I'm going to select the CleanVox, aux1, and SSvox. And I'm actually going to drag those to the top of the session. So that's part of my template was that CleanVox template, aux1 that has all the vocal processing on it, and then my SSvox track. As far as my click, I'll leave that muted. I'm going to drag that above the master. And I usually like to have my verb aux like right before my master anyways. So now if we play that back, we should have our template in here, and we should also be able to hear the track. Riding on a satellite, so let's play this part here. So that vocal is very quiet. It's kind of hard to hear. And now this vocal is much louder. And even if we go to this vocal versus the kind of end vocal. Okay. So that's way too loud. So you can see there's quite a bit of dynamic here. And, you know, this could happen in a vocal session. You could be recording a vocal session and for some reason, you know, they're very quiet on the verse or they're very loud at other parts. It kind of reminds me of Olivia Rodrigo's Vampire, that song. It's like very quiet in the verse and very loud on the choruses. And actually, if you go and listen to that song or you go and look at that song, it actually isn't that dynamic. The vocal level isn't the dynamic, but it kind of keeps a very consistent volume, even though it goes from her sort of whispering to her yelling at different parts or really singing loudly. The level or the volume never really changes, even though the perception of like intensity does. So one of the ways we can achieve that is to do two things. We could use clip gain, which we'll do second, or the first way, which was a little bit older way, but has some advantages to it that clip gain doesn't, is to ride some levels. So what we'll do is, the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and select the original Vox take here. I'm just going to Command C to copy it. And if I just click on CleanVox and hit Command V, it should paste it in here. Hold on, I think the freeze button got clicked here. So Command C to copy it, and I'm just going to click on CleanVox and paste it. By the way, notice like when you select something and then select another track, it just, if you don't touch the timeline at all and just use the shortcut keys, then you won't mess up the timing. So now we should probably have two vocals, maybe not yet. So the next step we have to do is let's mute the original Vox track and then let's input monitor the SSvox track. So if we do that now the signal can actually flow through the aux and then we can hear it back on the SSvox track. All right, so if we look at our clean Vox track and we play it back here, one of the things we'll notice is this first part is very quiet. And now this second verse is going to be much louder. Riding on a satellite, and then, of course, this next part is very quiet. I can feel your heart. All right, and then the chorus is very, very loud. So what we're going to do is I'm basically going to record a take of this while I ride the levels. And what level am I going to ride? Well, if you see this fader on the clean Vox track, that's what's actually feeding the EQ, compressor, and additive EQ. And importantly, the compressor, it's feeding the input of the compressor. So if it's louder going into the compressor, it'll compress it more. If it's quieter, it might not activate the compressor at all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ride the levels to sort of average this signal a little bit more. But then also sort of feed the compressor a more consistent signal, meaning the compressor is never really going to be like overworking or underworking. It'll always just be operating. So I won't have moments of where it's like sounds really compressed or then times when it sounds like there's no compression at all. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to ride this clean Vox level. So what I'll do is we don't need to record on the clean Vox because we've already recorded, but I'll set now the SSvox to input record, and let's go ahead and do it. So I'll try to have both windows open. I think I'm going to start with the clean Vox all the way up to 12 because it's very quiet. And then when I get to this next part here, I'm probably going to pull it back to about -5. And then I think for the super loud part here at the end, I pull it down to like -10. So let's go ahead and give it a shot here. I'm going to start recording, and here we go. All right, so that's probably like my level. So I want to get this quieter, the next part, coming down to -5. Looks pretty good. All right, so on the next part here, I'm going to pull it back up to 12. I hit that breath really hard, but all right, here we go. I can feel your heart. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the synth bass right now. Let's mute that for a second. So yeah, if you look here, if we unrecord enable this and mute the clean Vox, let's listen back to the just the SSvox track that I've now printed from my Magic Moves. It's a good level. I can hear it. All right, this previously was much louder, but now it's just about the same level. All right, previously this was too quiet. I did hit that the breath really hard. I could have waited and slowly brought the fader in when that breath was happening, not to exaggerate it, because I think I ended up exaggerating it. So now it just sounds like a gasp for air here. And we don't need a destination when you're riding right next to me. I can feel your heart. Calling Great. So yeah, just right off the bat, then it just sounds a little bit more finished. It sounds a little bit more polished because the dynamics are more regular, or at least just the regular average volume is more consistent. So by the way, if you don't want to fly by the seat of your pants like this and sort of move the fader up and down on your own, you could just as easily go and automate it. So I could have it at, I think I had it at plus 12, and at this part I had it at minus 5. Let's put it somewhere around there. I had it back up to plus 12. I might even try to make it not as obvious there. And then here, let me zoom in a little bit. And so maybe I'll try to, that probably won't get the breath as much. Let's see. By the way, I have to switch this back to input monitor. I could do a new take here too. Let me do a new take. I'll call this SSvox 01. Let me listen here. Oh, it's still muted. Hold on.
And we don't need a destination when you're riding right next to me. I can feel your heart.
So you could do that, and then you could record that into the SSvox take here. So you could just record the volume automation that you created.
On the backside tonight, there's a steel train to take me out of Eugene.
Let me try to fix this here, actually.
Riding on a satellite.
So I'll keep the breath out of it here.
And we don't need a destination when you're riding right next to me. I can feel your heart.
Great. So we could do it that way. And you notice that I was able to go in and really like get rid of the breath here and do some magic moves. I don't know. Are they magic moves if you're automating them? Maybe. I don't know. But if you are going to go to that length to automate the track, what you could do is do something else called clip gain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this track, and I'm going to turn the automation off, and I'll duplicate the clean Vox track. That's going to create this clean Vox dupe. And if I do that, let me mute the original clean Vox, and I'll make it a little bit smaller here. So what I could do is, this is still going to operate. I'll also make like a new take. We'll just make a new one called SSvox. Notice it'll name it .02. Yours should probably be 01. But what I can also do is if I go back to waveform view, I could kind of do the same thing, but with a different function called clip gain. So basically what I want to do is say, okay, this section here is probably needs to be a higher level or a different level. This one seems to be pretty good. This next section here, let me get in real close. I have to like zoom in a little bit to see where it ends. So what if I just did this from like here to here? I could even just take the breath out too. So I could do it from here to here. I'm hitting Command E, by the way, to separate these regions. So now I almost have four different regions here. So what I'm going to do is I can just delete this first part here. And let me do this. I think this is probably a pretty good level here on the Vox print. So I'm going to go ahead and raise this level up to kind of have it match. I'll do the same thing with the other verse part. And then what I'll do is I think the like chorus or yelling here is too loud. So I'm going to bring that down to kind of have it all be sort of the same level. So if we look at this now, let's play it back. Now they're all about the same level.
And we don't need a destination when you're riding right next to me. I can feel your heart. Fire.
Great. So you may notice there was like a weird transition here a little bit. So you may need to go through and put fades on all these, which remember you can do by just highlighting it all and doing Command F and do your batch fades here. You can just put 10 millisecond fades in between them. By the way, I think if you also go up to View and Clips, I think you can do Clip Gain Line. So it actually shows you could go in and automate this line just like here. If I use my pencil tool, you can use this to not only change the clip gain line, but it'll also notice the waveform represents that too. So that's just like another way to do it. It's kind of a more modern way to do it. But once again, if you like what you've got here, you could take that again. By the way, though, too, then you could also do things where like, I don't know, if we like zoom in here, like notice how here, like the breath, like you could do something more like this where you could like, you know, kind of have it go up. Like you don't even have to use the pencil tool. You could use your grabber tool and like make a breakpoint here. So like, I don't know, it could be the breath could be a little bit louder. You know, you could really get into the minutia of how much you want that to be. So this new clip gain function or newer clip gain function really gives you a lot of versatility. But if you notice, I'm obviously moving towards the point here that probably vocals, volume-wise, need to be fairly consistent, or that's a very important component of having a vocal sort of sit in a mix correctly. You know, we talked about recording vocals with the right mic, and you know, the right distance, right height, you know, pairing the right performer with the right microphone, but also then creating a consistent vocal level, either for the final production or in the actual recording, is just gonna sound more finished, more polished, more complete. The advantage of doing the Stavro riding the levels is you could do that while you're recording, so the artist actually gets to hear that. Whereas this clip gain or even riding the levels like we have in this session is after the fact. So after that, that's pretty much the lab. You can do a little bit of mixing to kind of, if it's going to be your demo draft, you can go ahead and finish mixing that to create the final, the demo final, or you can just mix this session as well. There's not too many components, so it shouldn't take you too long. So after you've done with all that, basically just bounce the mix as usual, and then save it to cloud storage. So I'll just go over here to the lab. I'm going to highlight everything I want. Command Option B is bounce mix. I'll of course name it year, month, day, or date, sorry, your name, and then lab 3. We can bounce it. We want to make sure it's wave, output 1 and 2, interleaved, 16-bit, 44.1, and then you just want to make sure you bounce it into your session's bounce files. So here's my folder. I can bounce it into there. After I've done that, then I can just take the whole folder, which is sitting on my desktop here. And if I open it up, notice it's got the audio files in there. It's got the bounce file. If I had bounced it, it would have gone in there. I've got the not only the old session, I've got my SSvox template in there, and then I have my current session. So I'll take that, right-click on that to compress it, zip it, and then that file I'm going to share on Google Drive. And then the share link I'll submit in the Canvas folder. So that's lap 3. As always, let me know if you have any questions.